Ma'ams and sirs, welcome to the Jared Bellmund Show. We are located here at the Center for Arts and Entertainment. My goal is to assist you in your personal and professional growth by talking to community leaders like our guest today, Daughtry. This episode is brought to you by Pro 16 Productions. Pro 16 Productions combines experience, passion, and innovation to capture the essence of your projects. Andre is the owner of Pro 16 Productions. He's born and raised in Western North Carolina, husband of Christina. His daughter Brenna is a student at Western. His son Ben is a student at Montford North Star. In 2019, he left his job at Red Lobster to pursue his passion of photography and video as a full-time career. Welcome to the show, Andre.
Thank you. Good to be here.
So in all transparency, you are the producer of the show.
Yes, this is true.
This is true. So you are behind the camera, in front of the camera, behind the mic, in front of the mic right now.
Wearing many hats, but it's always nice to sit down and be able to have a conversation in the beautiful Hendersonville sun.
Yeah, it is a great day. It's warm out, and it's just going to get warmer, which hopefully is good with everything going on in the world right now.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about, you're new to owning your own business, right? 2019, you left the restaurant industry. It's something we have in common, that we were both in the restaurant industry and both left to pursue other careers.
Absolutely.
So how's it been?
I got to tell you, Jared, it's been a challenge. There's been a lot of left Red Lobster towards the end of 2018. And some of the major challenges that I had were within. There's a lot of questions that go through your head whenever you're doing any kind of artistic work or any kind of production. The first one is, are you good enough? Are you going to be able to make money to support the family? Are you going to be able to do your passion and be able to actually have it turn into what you want it to be, what you envision it to be? So there's a lot of challenges that went into it. That first year, there were some highs and some lows. I'm so glad that I did it, though. I wouldn't have traded it. I thank the Lord that I was blessed for the opportunity to do it, and I'm not looking back.
That's good. Yeah, I think not looking back is a huge step in the right direction to learn and I guess, as they say, fail forward. Mm-hmm. So your passion was photography. You've been passionate about photography for a long time. It's not a new passion. It wasn't something you just fell into. But how is it different when you actually have to start charging? And it's not just, let me put a portrait on my wall. Let me actually put portraits on other people's walls and do pictures for everybody else.
That right there is something that, a lot of times when people tell you about the entrepreneurial spirit, that's the thing that's hard to train and to coach for, even with the books you read and even with other colleagues that have told you about what you should be charging and what you could be charging. It's always difficult because, once again, you're not just selling a lot of times your product. A lot of times for an artist, you're selling yourself. And so the first couple of times that come in, the first thing you want to say is, oh man, I'll give this to someone for peanuts, or, I'll do this for the exposure, or I'll do this for different reasons. And obviously you can't pay your bills that way, but more importantly, you also don't get the same respect that way. That was something hard that I had to learn last year. It's not just about charging the highest price or the lowest price. It's about people valuing your work. That's the big thing. Sometimes they say you can't put a price on it, but trust me, you can put a price on it.
You can definitely put price on everything. I'm an insurance agent. We put price on everything.
Absolutely. Yeah. But it comes down to value, and that's what, and a lot of times that's what life is for people to be able to value your work, also financially, but from different levels as well. So that was definitely a challenge. I've grown in that as well, and realize that it's important to keep your eye on you progress. If for some people that have been doing it for years, there's a different price point they can charge. Some that are starting out, maybe not so much, but because you need to know the market and you need to know the area where you're at, all those things factors in. Every day I'm getting better at it.
That's good. So getting connected into the community as a new business owner, what were some of the events, opportunities that were presented to you? Where did you go to get connected at first?
Well, to be honest, I'd never networked before, And so one of the first things that I did was I just started finding some networking groups. I'm, from Asheville. So I started finding some networking groups in Asheville. First one I went into did not go well, went horribly. At the time I was thinking, maybe it was the people that I went into, the ones that I met. And then I just realized it was more about me. I didn't know how to network. I didn't know the questions to ask. I didn't know how to approach someone that was in the same field that I did. That did the same thing maybe for years and not feel threatened or not feel like, oh my goodness, like, is he going to judge me? It took time. I actually joined a networking group. I joined a BNI group in Asheville, and going through some of the courses, I learned more about networking itself, but it also just gave me some confidence to go to more networking groups. And over time, what I learned was, especially from even groups like FABA, I learned that it's more about the relationship. It's more about developing relationships with people. And the business part will actually take care of itself. It sounds crazy. It sounds counterintuitive. There's definitely questions you need to ask and so forth for networking. But it will take care of itself if you build the relationships.
I truly believe that. And so these classes that were through BNI, right? Mm-hmm. They have online classes and
some training aids and so forth. And, I did that, but I didn't just stick with that. I went and found some of my own. Just went through I tried to find every networking video I could. Flip through some books as well, just to get it together, because I knew once I figured this thing out, I would get it.
Yeah, YouTube is good for that. Yeah. So you and I have had a discussion about, well, you mentioned it earlier that you felt threatened, or maybe you didn't feel threatened, but hesitant around your own peers. Mm-hmm. So you and I have had the conversation in the past about mentorship and actually mentoring and being mentored. What have you done in the last 6 months, year to pursue that?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, Jerry, because I actually have to say thank you to you. You and I had a conversation about mentoring, and one of the things that you had told me was, you should get a mentor. You should get a mentor in a couple of different places in your life. And so it wasn't just one area. I actually have a friend of mine that I believe helped me to get started in the video part that I do. I had a mentor in that area. But I also love to do landscape photography. I also love to, I'm active in my church. I'm obviously a husband and a father. It was great to look for mentors in all of those things because, I believe when I prayed about it, I had an opportunity to meet some people that really allowed me to think out of the box. Because how else was I going to learn? If I didn't ask someone that knew or that went through it, they say, what does they say when the student is ready, the teacher will appear?
That's right. That's right.
I really feel like
true for
2020, I really feel like that happened where there were at least a couple of mentors that came in my life where if it had happened last year, I wouldn't have been ready for it. I wouldn't even know that I needed it. But now, not only do I don't have a problem accepting the help and the mentorship, but I'm also looking for who I can train, who I can give some wisdom to, because that's the whole idea. You don't just take the knowledge and keep it to yourself. You take it and you pass it down, and you hope to start a chain that follows.
Right. I think that's I don't want to say it's missing because it's there, but I don't think it's as used as it could be. And I think that a lot of businesses aren't successful because they don't look for mentors and they don't look to mentee. I believe that I hit a point in my life where I really felt like, or my career and my life, where I felt like I needed to talk to people that are coming after me. Mm-hmm. And the amount of stuff that I've learned about myself and how I've grown trying to grow another is impressive also.
I want to say I listened to the podcast that you had with Dave Riddell, and I loved one of the things that he was mentioning about he was able to still work with his competition and refer to his competition and have his competition refer to him. You want to talk about a dream as an entrepreneur, that's what it is.
It's powerful.
Exactly. To not have competition but have colleagues. Some people may do things a little differently than I do, but I had a colleague actually reach out to me recently about filming some of the restaurants that have closed recently and kind of getting an opportunity on the street to talk about all the things that are happening now and how it's affecting affecting you and I and everybody in there. And that's the thing, is it felt so good to talk to a colleague about collaborating on a product, collaborating on a project rather. It was really cool.
Right, and if you still had that initial fear or were threatened by that, those conversations would never happen. Amazing things would not occur.
Absolutely.
So I want to break it down a little bit. I want to dig in, and
Okay.
you may push back, and that's okay. But let's talk about who these people are, because
Excellent.
and you don't have to say names if you don't want to say names. But let's
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and so let's go
Okay.
break it down. So let's start with personal, right? We'll
Okay.
start there. So you had things you wanted to grow in life, and so where did you go?
Okay. Well, when it came to personal, there were a couple of different things. The first one was my pastor at my church. I'm an Adventist, so my pastor's Pastor S01E07 went and was able to talk with him about a couple of different things personal from a spiritual angle. When it came to just life in general, there's a couple of guys that, my brother-in-law, a couple of guys that are older than me, but just have been there, done that kind of thing, that just give you advice on life. Things you just don't always, things you don't always think about. Somewhat, I won't say older, kind of middle age. Well, I'm middle age, but a little more middle than my age. And then when it came, obviously, from the business part, I want to say, especially networking, Jesse Bockerman is one that I definitely consider a mentor. Has helped out a lot when I was in a BNI, helped me get confidence there. And from a video and photography standpoint, two that stand out, Jared Kay of Amplified Media, still to me is one of the best video production companies in Western North Carolina. And also photography, Tommy White. It's just somebody's photography that I really admired. I love his work ethic and has been an awesome mentor as well.
Yeah.
So those are some of the few.
That's great. And Tommy White is a old buddy of mine, and we've known each other for decades. I know, man, we've known each other a long time. So we met each other back when I lived in Boone, and early O's.
Oh, wow. Yes.
So no, glad that and Tommy is very skilled and is not. Has someone that has not been, I don't think it's been 15 years he's been doing photography. I mean, he's been doing photography, but not like you, taking the jump to have it be a full-time career. I met him when he was the general manager of Mass Store.
Oh, wow.
So everybody kind of has that transition, and so he, but super impressive, and he's been well recognized in Western North Carolina as a photographer.
And one thing I want to point out, not just with Tommy, but with all the people on that list, you have to have, in my opinion, you have to have the spirit, or you have to have the desire for mentorship to be able to help somebody else. Everybody that I named on that list knew, I know that they're somewhere in their journey, but they made the decision, and I'll always be grateful. I'll always be grateful that they made the decision to stop or even pause their lives for just a little bit to give me some wisdom or some encouragement or some sort of direction to kind of help me go to my next level, whatever my next level is. And I'll remember that for the next person that comes in that says, hey, I'm thinking about doing video photography, or I'm thinking about, stepping out on my own. What's some advice you can give me? That's the thing. Taking the time, even a few minutes, was just, I'll never forget it.
That's great. And I think, we're talking about skills. I think it goes deeper than that, because sometimes it's blind spots, right? Things that we don't know that we don't know. And how would we? Because we don't know.
Absolutely.
And so I really find that a lot of my mentors and a lot of the men that I go to for advice, their view on my own blind spots that, and it's a mix. They have to be courageous enough to tell us there's an issue, and we have to be humble enough to hear that, and it needs to both be in the right way at the right time.
Absolutely.
It has to be received and given well, and so it's hard to find that. But I think what you're saying is that it could be the best thing you do for your career and life in searching those out.
I think that you hit the nail on the head, especially for being an entrepreneur, is that every single day I mean, you could say that about anything. Every day is a learning opportunity. But in some ways, for entrepreneurship, every day could be a failing opportunity too. But it doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing, because it just means that you have more opportunities to be successful. There are some things you can watch from somebody else and learn from their mistakes and say, I won't make that same mistake. And then you're going to make all new mistakes.
Right.
Because you're in a territory, you're a different person, you're in a territory they weren't in. But it's good to hear from people that have been through certain things, that when you're in that struggle, you can remember you still have to make a choice on which way you're going to go and which mistakes you're going to make. But it's still good to hear from people that have been there, done that, to see the mistakes they made, to make the decision to say, you know what, I'm gonna go and do it a different way. Maybe I'll make the same mistake, or I'm gonna just totally forget it and I'm gonna go, to the left because I learned from the mistake they made.
Yeah, no, that's powerful advice there.
Yep.
The third thing, I think, so we talked about skill, we talked about blind spots, and this is probably a more difficult from a mentor standpoint, but accountability.
Mm-hmm.
I have been very beneficial, and people have spoke a lot of blessings into me through showing skill and blind spots, but the long-term people that have a great impact on me are the ones that continue to hold me accountable to something.
Absolutely.
And it's a little different, right? Because I can call someone and get great advice on skill within my industry, and I can have someone point out things and I can receive that well. But the long-term, really, that accountability partner is important.
Well, I think what else you said that really resonated with me was, that's how you know somebody really, really is invested in your mentorship. It's not because they tell you the good things and the things that work. It's when they have the trust or know that you are giving them the respect enough where they can be completely blunt with you about what's going on, because they want you to be successful. If they didn't, in other words, if they didn't care as much, they would say something nice, or you're doing the right things, and only give encouragement. If they obviously saw something was wrong, and they didn't tell you, you would want to know years later, like, man, if you saw that in me, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you? And see, that's where it shows that someone's truly invested in you. Someone that truly cares about your development will also tell you when things are messing, when you're going the wrong way, when you might be off base, or at least for you to think about it.
That's great. Well, I think we hit on a lot of things. I'm going to throw my last three questions. You've heard a lot of the questions. You've heard these answers too. So you're the most prepared for this. The first one, what's the most influential book you've read in the last 6 months?
All right. So the most influential book, and see, I was thinking about this. I got to be honest with you. I feel horrible. I don't read a lot, but I don't remember the name of it, but I'm in school at ECU for communications. So the last insightful book that I was reading, actually, one of my textbooks was on media ethics. And that's something I've been studying. The reason why I said it's been insightful, just because I pick up the phone, I'm online a lot, I see a lot of the media, and there's a lot of things in the book that makes you think a lot about why something is put out, why someone chooses to do it, how they choose to produce it, and what might be the motivation behind that. That was influential to me, because now I see things in a different lens when I look at different things with the media.
You're just adding more and more lens to your bag, right?
Exactly.
That's great. No, I think that's wonderful. So in the last 6 months, what's something you've had to say no to?
Oh, man. One thing I had to say no to were some obligations that I had, actually, at my church, some of the obligations that I had to, just because I had to say no, because I had realized I had taken on too much. And I think that's another thing that we all need to realize and think about, is what our limitations are, because the first thing that we think is we can do, a lot of us, we can do anything for anybody if we have the opportunity, if we're breathing, if we have 2 minutes, 3 minutes. But sometimes you need to take some time for you and your family and evaluate why, your choices behind it. So that's something I had to.
Yeah, and I think that's what you said is why are you doing it, and what is the long-term impact? Because everything you say yes to, you're saying no to something else.
Absolutely. Someone else. Or someone else,
right. And so you need to purposefully make those choices. Well, that's great. That's a big theme on the show, is protecting time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm giving you a billboard.
Okay, gotcha.
Millions of people are going to see it. What do you put on it?
Well, let's see here. Millions of people are going to put on it, and I guess what I would put on there is find a way to tell your story for the world to hear in the way that you want the world to hear it. I know that's long for a billboard, but that's one of the things that I try to do with all the projects I create is I try to get people to find something that sets them apart, because every one of us, if anything that we know now in our world is that every one of us have a story to tell. Every one of us is going through something, but stories are amazing. People are amazing. Find a way to tell your story uniquely, that is uniquely you, and make sure the whole world hears it. That's what I put.
Well, thanks, Andre. Appreciate you helping me tell other people's stories. That's what we do here at the Jared Bellmund Show. It was a pleasure having you on. Thank you for watching the Jared Bellmund Show. Be sure to hit subscribe, ring the bell for future notifications, and check out the description for more information.